Guys, welcome to the show, Pod Bay Door. Julia Shoup is back. We're having a discussion about Las Vegas and literature, and Julia, as well as being a friend, she's a celebrated author.
Celebrated.
Yes. Right. Book series number 1 is coming out, but it's her second book to hit the stands, and it's coming out. And Julia, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you it's an exciting process. I'm privy to some of the inner workings of getting this, being an author and how things work, and a pain in the ass, I got to tell you. Sounds like a pain in the ass, but she's done the work, she's done the diligence, and I've seen all the work that she's done, and it's fantastic. So why don't you give us a little teaser? What's going
on? So this one's called Carved in Stone. It's my fourth
book. Yes. Book. Yes.
And it's my first in the genre of thriller, suspense, mystery. I won't lie, that's the top-selling genre. Well, second. Romance is first. You will never find me writing a romance. I can't do it.
Good.
I can't even think of one. So second is thriller and suspense. So I went with that, and I'd clearly like to sell a couple copies. So
yes.
But it's called Carved in Stone. It's the first book in a new series with the protagonist. Her name is Vanessa Stone, hence the name. And this one is, I tried to be more of a psychological thriller. So this, I always like when books focus on the antagonist and how he became that way. Like what shaped his upbringing that made him become a killer, or become, Darth Vader, or become, right. I want to know that. Right. So that's what I did. I tell the story from the killer's point of view, Carlton Tubbs, what happened to him in childhood. And just to tease it a little bit, he met a child when he was abandoned by his parents, sent to an orphanage. He met a child who kind of helped to shape his darker side, his mistrust of women and all of that. And then I tell it 30 years later with Detective Stone, searching for a killer of 18 women. And so it just kind of goes back and forth. And the real thought-provoking thing in the book is, who is this child? Who is that? His name is Smith. And was he real, or was he someone that Carlton made up? Yeah. And in the end, you find out,
Right. Well, that's always been, I always thought that's in that genre. It was more interesting was the why done it, yes. More so than the who done it. I mean, traditionally women wrote the who done it. They were more like puzzles, right? Agatha Christie, yeah. is the most famous one. They called those the cozies. Mm-hmm. People got murdered, but it wasn't messy. They got poisoned, or there wasn't a lot of blood and violence. Sure. And and it went into, who did it? Everybody had a reason for it, but kind of there's a clue left over, and you kind of got to it that way. But there the emphasis was always on the who did it. But the why did it is always vastly more interesting, because we do wonder that why did this person do that?
Yeah.
What was it? Was it nurture or nature? Were they just born bad, or was it something that is it a combination of things? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the opening 3 chapters are told back when. So the killer's name is Carlton Tubbs, and the opening scene is him being released from prison. He didn't actually kill the woman. He attacked her. So there's a real life killer named Lawrence Singleton. And I was really inspired.
Yes, I remember him. He cut the girl's hands off.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that when that happened.
He was sentenced to 15 years for doing that.
Yeah.
And so I was absolutely enthralled by that. But that was the California maximum sentence at the time. Right. It was in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
So he's out.
He got
or
out.
Did he pass away?
He got out and subsequently killed hookers. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So we should have kept him in there.
Yeah.
His idea, I think, at the time was he picked up this girl. I think she was hitchhiking. She was a young girl, like 14.
Right.
And he was going to kill her, and he thought if he cut her arms off, they couldn't identify her. Remember, no DNA back then.
Sure.
Fingerprints, though. They had fingerprints, things like that. Well, he cut her arms off, and she got away. And she survived.
Right.
So, yeah.
She did an episode on I Survived. It was an A&E short run.
Right.
I was absolutely enthralled by this. If you ever have a chance, you can YouTube the episode. You can watch her tell the story.
Okay.
And they begin by showing her face, and you don't know.
Yeah.
And then, suddenly she has a tissue and she dabs and it's her hook. And then they pan out and she's got another hook. It's an amazing story to hear her tell it.
Wow.
So it really inspired me. So I that's all I took from it. Just the fact that the minimum sentence was horrible to me.
Right.
So I began the book with his release and what's going on in his head. He wants to try and make it. He wants to try and, overcome the urges. And then I go into his therapist in prison and, what they spoke about in their sessions. So I really was interested in the why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Now, is this book, the Carved in Stone, is going to be a series, or is
Yes.
each book a standalone? I mean, a person could read those, but do they overlap? Everything is connected.
They do overlap, and
Yes.
I'm worried that I committed the cardinal sin by ending it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Kind of.
But I'm taking a break and I'm writing a quick nonfiction right now, and then I'm going to write the second in this series.
Okay.
So I'm going to try and do it quickly. This one took a while, but
Now, how does a person? We've talked about it before. To see and hear and read snippets of everything. What's the best way to find all of your work?
Amazon.
Amazon.
Amazon. Search for Julia Shoup, or you can find me on juliashoup.com.
Okay.
And
the previous books, of course, we've Barren Waters.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And you have a fantasy series, which is Woven Realms.
Yep.
And now Carved in Stone. I'm sorry, Vanessa
Stone.
Vanessa Stone. Okay. And so is there a little bit of you and Vanessa?
Yes, there is. You have to write what you know.
That's right. Now, is she pretty or is she earthy? I mean, how did you design her?
I tried not to give her a face.
Okay.
I gave her, brunette. I gave her kind of my characteristics, I think.
Right.
But I tried not to give her too much of a face, just to so the reader can use their imagination. I didn't.
Did she ever work in a hotel?
No.
No. Okay.
God bless her.
Now that would be the killer.
That's right.
Yeah. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, but good segue to remind everybody, Julia and John and myself, we all worked at the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. We were at the concierge desk. We were founders, they call that here in Las Vegas, and that means that we opened the place. As we've talked about before, it opened with very little fanfare. Not even Sophia Loren would stay there.
No. She had to stay across the street because they didn't have a room ready
That's
for her.
right. That we had one restaurant, maybe a floor of rooms, some beleaguered concierge that had all of 12 weeks of training.
That's right.
And 12 and 2 sandwiches a day.
That's right.
Deli sandwiches for 12 weeks. But we're sort of I take pride in the fact that as a Las Vegas podcast, we don't belabor the public, our listeners, with the gambling thing. There's a lot of people that do the gambling and the cheesy where's the hot dogs, and we can talk about that too. But I try to make something different. And today we're going to talk about Las Vegas and literature, and how it relates basically to our experience in Las Vegas as well as our experience as concierge at the Venetian Hotel. John brought up last week, and also in an upcoming blog article, quite a few literary aspects where Vegas is used. And the number one, of course, is Mr. Hunter S. Thompson and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which absolutely describes our experience at the Venetian, I think. But now, John, your interpretation of of Fear and Loathing is what? What was Hunter talking about?
Well, I think it's. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how faithful the movie is to the book. And it's been a long time since I read the book.
Right.
But he has that it was written at a time when he was there. I believe wasn't it to cover Richard Nixon's speech, or there was something to do with the Nixon campaign because it was 1974.
It was a stump speech.
Yes,
it was a stump speech. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I gather from it, and I was going to ask you guys, sort of a theme of the books that I picked out to talk a little bit about, is do you think, now all of us have been there, Julia was involved with the town more than either one of us, John or myself, because you were involved in gaming, you were involved in hotel, you were involved in hosting in one capacity or another. And so you saw the good, the bad, the ugly all the way through. Mm-hmm. And you were quite young, and then you had some, good seasoning and maturity at the end of your career in Las Vegas. So, I mean, you've really seen what I think is what Vegas is. And the theme is, it seems like, in most of the literature I can find, especially Fear and Loathing, which I think is a treatise about the failure of the 60s counterculture. I think Las Vegas has picked up that baton and trying to be that sort of 60s hippie stuff. But do you think Las Vegas corrupted you?
Yes.
Temporarily.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay.
100%.
And is it still doing it? Or
no.
are you safe? You're far enough away?
I'm far from it now. I never. I like to say I'm kind of boring now. I love to be at home. I love to, do the projects and the things that I like to do.
Right.
So, but yeah, back then, I always wonder what would have happened or what my life would have become if I hadn't chosen to follow my father and come here.
So that's why you came. I was going to ask everybody why. So you came here for your dad.
I did.
Your dad was heavily involved in the convention side.
Very.
Now is that where he got his start? Is the convention area?
Convention area. He was all over the place. He was recruited to Albuquerque, New Mexico for that. Mm-hmm. Tampa, Florida. He ran their convention facility in Tampa, Florida. Lake Ozark, Missouri, we lived in for a time when I was very young.
There's a half
Phoenix, yeah.
In what way do you think that the town corrupted you? Is it that you had access to things that maybe you wouldn't have in the Ozarks?
Yeah, I mean, several things. I think I didn't have a traditional college experience because of Las Vegas, because everyone at that school was... I worked a full-time job almost. I worked at the Sands after I would go to school. I didn't live on campus after year one. It's just, Vegas is go, go, go. Mm-hmm. And it's very anonymous. Like, I think you don't make good friends here. I mean, the relationships that we made at the Venetian were good, but I can't think of that many people, from college or anything that I'm still talking to. How many
still live here? Because it's such a transient town.
It is.
That people come and go. And then because of the industries like the hotels, when I lived when I first moved here in 99 and we worked at the Venetian, my neighbor also worked at the Venetian. And in the 3 years that I lived in that house, I never once saw him. And that was because I saw his wife. And she was the one who told me, but he worked in the entertainment. He had a regular grunt 9 to 5 desk job, and I was working evenings. So I might pass him on the street and wave at him, but I never talked to the guy once. And it was just that he was off Saturday, Sunday. I work Saturday, Sunday. Mm-hmm. I'm off Wednesday, Thursday. He's at work. So I just never saw. So sometimes you do have that also when your hours are different, and and so, it is. It's sometimes hard to...
Yeah. And as a woman, when I worked at the Rio, that was I don't even remember how old I was. I had just turned 21. And it was, women, I was in VIP services. Right. So I was really, lots of high rollers everywhere. I was kind of immersed in that life. And it was, women are... There was this thing where women were supposed to look for a rich man, a rich husband to take care of them. And I got caught up in that for a minute. And it's such a tacky scene. You know what I mean? It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just false.
It is. That's absolutely
true.
No
substance.
We used to say that all the time. I mean, however beautiful the facades are, it is a facade. It is. And it's it's a false facade, for the life that's here. And we joke about people thinking that we live in the hotels, and obviously we've had a couple of people actually think that, but we don't live in the hotels, and I find it very interesting. I hear discussions of other podcasts and podcasters off their podcasts regarding the excitement and how cool it is, and I find it very interesting to hear all this discussion. Still thrilled to hear that that a large percentage of the U.S. public and global public love to come here, because we need people here, even though we're not in the industry anymore. But it's such a giant dichotomy to me to know exactly what you just said. And yet this town thrives on that. It thrives on making that facade. And if you just look close enough, it's really funny that you mentioned that, because what I do now, a lot of what I do is architectural and decor photography. And I see, that a lot of these facades are just up there with duct tape and dreams. It's just, and it's not, a whole, 7 feet removed from the patron. Now, you could walk up to things and see, oh wow, that's seen better days.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, to hear you guys talk about that. Now I agree with you about the friend thing, not knowing what it's like to be a woman here. I agree with you about the friend. However, I have to say that the 3 people in here, plus a couple more for sure, professionally speaking, are the best friends I've ever made, and the most long term. We may have our years of separation for one reason or another. John moving and me moving and so on and so forth. But those were kept, which I think is rare in any work situation, not just Vegas. But I think Vegas, there's an extra card, if you will. Yeah. There's an ace in the hand that really there's a. Even though you made good friends, we were all glad to get away from them. Not necessarily the friends. We just had to get away from the situation where we had the friends, and there was sadness, but we were only so sad because we were finally out of that joint.
Yeah, right.
It's very difficult. People just don't understand how difficult that is. And again, you see scenes from like Fear and Loathing, and this swirling sort of drug-induced look at things. And it's not far from wrong, but all it needs is just a little bit of a shake to clear things up, and you start seeing that it's not quite what you think it is. It's a trap for many, many reasons, especially for those of us that work here. Julia, had unfortunately, she went into the business, progressed in the business. We met her, had a wonderful time. We all left. I was last, by the way. I'm going to mention that every time. You guys suck.
Yep.
And then Julia had to go back briefly.
I did.
And very difficult.
That was really difficult.
I can't imagine how bad it must have been.
It was so disheartening. I just felt like when I walked in, my head was just down.
I can imagine. For as much as I was by myself, the last year and a half, I think it was, from the last person leaving, going back, I couldn't do it.
I know.
I applaud you. I
had to.
No, of course you did. And those are your reasons personally, but oh man, I thought about it when I first heard that. I hadn't talked to you. And when I heard that you went back, I was like, oh my God.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah, I mean, because it's very common for dealers to come back.
Yeah.
Because there's 50% of dealers have a situation where they have to come back. Kids or they're running from the law or something. But they come back and they deal, and it's good money. You can still make 2 bills, a day in tokes, and that's great. But for a person non-gaming to come back to a salary or hourly,
terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, and the other thing that I've noticed when you look at the hotels from the old ones that aren't here anymore, their themes, if there is that, is illusion, right? I mean, you have the dunes, the sands. These reference the environment, right? Not even this one, but farther away, Aladdin, right? They have the Aladdin, the Mirage, even Treasure Island. These are all fantasy. And after that, since '99, since they've gotten away from their latest, rebirth of the Strip, everything has been not fantasy. All the hotels are themed or real places. The Venetian.
Yeah.
Venice is a real place. Paris is a real place. Bellagio is a real place.
Yeah.
Either that or they celebrate, Steve Wynn. Hey, I'm going to name my own hotel. Why? Because I'm an asshole, but I'm a real guy. So,
Did you see? He pulled the golden parachute. He's done.
Oh, is he finally done?
Yeah. He's taken his booty.
Yeah.
Going. Yeah.
And I think that magic is lost then because
I thought
maybe
he
that
was building.
Steve Wynn, like most of the corporate entities here, really doesn't own himself anymore.
Yeah.
And his board of directors, with all this, Me Too shit and the sexual harassment, and John and I talked about it on the previous podcast. Of course, he was involved in that, and
of course he was.
And the man's lost his sight. He's quite a bit older now, and the board of directors said, "Hey, it's time to go," and he did.
I think that's a good move.
Well, I think so too.
Well, again, the sexual harassment was mentioned in this book that John L. Smith wrote, Running Scared. And I read that in 1995. So in some of these stories that we're hearing about, John Smith wrote about 1995. So it's like, okay, why didn't they do something in 1995?
Yeah, these aren't revelations.
Yeah.
On any of these people. Yeah. But no, Steve's gone. But John, so Julia said how she got here.
Yeah.
How'd you get here?
Well, yeah, I was.
Did you get on the wrong bus? What happened?
I got on the wrong plane. I think it would have been for me. Yeah, because I was in Japan and there was a trend going on in Japan that I didn't like, that I knew that down the line did not bode well for me. And I was a college teacher, and obviously in order for me to have a job, I need to have students at the colleges. And in order to have students, you need to have children. And Japan was not having children. So every year they were setting a new record of record low birth. So I realized, 18 years from now, when you're really going to notice it. But I had already started to notice it where, I taught a class. I remember I had 50 girls in my freshman conversation class. And then 8 years later, I had 12. It's just like, well, where is everybody? So now I'm saying, well, maybe we'll need to let guys in because, I said, no, it's a bad mix. I've taught in those situations. I didn't like that. They're better when they're all guys or they're all women. Particularly, I'd rather have them all women. Of course, they look nicer, they smell better, and they were more they were more enthusiastic. The guys didn't want to do anything but sit there because they were hungover and they smelled the cigarettes. So, but never. I said, well, what am I going to do? I'm ready to turn 40 years old, so I better think about going back to the US. I was going to ask that.
You were how old when we met you? When we all started training?
I spent my 40th birthday getting my gaming card. So I came back almost exactly. It was 1999. It was like March 20th.
Okay.
Of 1999, I came back, which was a Saturday. I remember it. And on Monday, I turned 40, and I was at the jail. At Clark County Jail, they were getting photographed with guys with tattoos on their neck. Yeah, that's right. So I just turned 40, and it's just like, well, why here? Well, I was gone for so long that Las Vegas has always been the place to go to reinvent yourself. Yeah. And there was very little internet still. I mean, the internet was still shit in its diapers, so to speak. Yeah. And I was using newspapers. I could find the Sunday Review Journal at Tower Records in Tokyo. Paid about $8, but it didn't matter. And I'd read through it, and I said, no, I think I can live here. I took a couple trips, and thought, yeah, this is where I'll start out.
Now, do you guys remember how I got here?
Was it the wrong bus?
It was the wrong bus. No,
you thought you were going to Las Vegas, New Mexico?
No, I had a U-Haul and a little car attached to the back, and I got here and we hit. The only place to stay on the fly was the Holiday Royale. It's not there anymore. Little blue apartments, little blue carpets. I got there, parked the car, 3 dogs that I was not allowed to have there. And with my head in my hands thinking, what in the world have I done? And fast forward to now, I'm glad I came, but that's how I got here. But I was 30. I'm 10 years your junior.
Well, you think about it, I mean, people, when you turn 40, you think, oh, Christ, it's over. But you realize you can start a new career at 40 and work 25 years and then only be 65. Yeah. So that's what I thought. I'll do this hotel thing. And you're right, the first 12 weeks were really good. Yeah. After
the first
that,
year was good, don't you think?
Well, after we got over that opening,
You would, sure.
it was harder for me on that opening because people would look around wanting to rage at somebody, and I was the oldest one.
Yes.
So they would say, "Are you the guy in charge?" Again, they're making this assumption based on age and everything else. I said, "No, you see the girl over there who's like 22. She's the one in charge. Go shit in her ear about it."
Age and gender, they would always come.
Yes.
I mean, I know the girls would rage on about, men get more tips and men this, men that. But and that's why. I can't say why.
Yeah.
Julia, I think, got the most respect. Now she should have, as a woman, get the most respect as a woman in that position. But I also think that your looks brought people in, especially guys. Because many times guys would have a beeline towards where we were standing.
Yeah.
And I'd be right there, and I'm not the most approachable person on the planet, but I'd be right there, like, ready to help you, dude. And man, it was quick. It was like boom, he was to Julia, and I'm like, all right, fine. Didn't want to talk to you anyway.
Yeah.
Shitbag.
Well, my cutoff point for habit, there was a time when it was okay. The job was okay. The cutoff point was when we moved the desk. When we were around that little corner.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That was okay.
Yeah.
When we went to that straight ahead down the main walk, it was over. I mean, it literally just did a turn for me.
Interesting. I can't say I understand. I see that, but I can't say that was when it turned for me. But that was it was an interesting experience for all of us. But we weren't babies at the desk. We weren't in our 20s.
No. But the thing was also is our manager Nicole. Whenever we got to send somebody down to Adelson's office for something, would send me because I was the oldest one. Adelson likes older concierge because, well, you're not going to find too many old ones that are going to work for $11.95 an hour.
Yeah.
And all the bullshit you can put up with.
Yeah.
That's what the job paid, right? Yeah. So, and again, I thought I'm only going to do this for so long. I'm just because I'm trying to get resettled here. But no, I'd have to go down there and they did play that card the age card like that.
Now, as an aside, I wanted to ask you guys, what's the first time, John, I'll ask you first, what's the first time you remember gambling? Where it was in an approved gambling city. Yeah. And you put a quarter, you put a bet. What was the first time you gambled?
It was here, Las Vegas. Well, I was 21. Now, I didn't come here for that sole purpose. Yeah. And, we were talking just earlier about it being a corrupting influence. And I started thinking about, I grew up in the Bay Area. And, we had strip bars. And we had strip joints, and we had hookers, and of course booze, alcohol, drugs, all kinds. I went to Berkeley.
You notice a theme about John, Julia?
What we did,
jail and hookers, and okay.
So, I'm getting it.
But what we didn't have, of course, was gambling, and not that it was that much of an appeal to me, but nevertheless, sure, if you're down there, well, hey, it's another drug to try, right? Yeah, I'll try it. But what I find about Las Vegas is it's so concentrated, right? I mean, the Bay Area, you can find, you find places that don't have that. Yeah. You're easy to find communities that, and again, zoning laws. We you can't have the porn shop, you can't have this or that. Yeah. If you want that, you're going to have to go to the Tenderloin district in San Francisco and do that. But Las Vegas, it's all boom. It's just all there. It's compact, and you're saturated with it. Yeah. So it does get into it does, I think, become part of your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I think 21. It was here, 21. I'd finally decided to pull the handle and try one. Yeah. But my biggest exposure to gambling was when I was dating that high roller that I dated for a while. His game was baccarat. He always bet the bank, and he would just, $10,000 a hand. He lost $90,000 in one night. He used to stuff his cash in his socks.
That he was wearing?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he would always wear a business suit. He was very well dressed, but underneath that suit in his knee socks, he called them bricks. He had 10,000 brick, and he would lose them. And he did get not 86 from Bellagio, but kicked out. Yeah. And I was there with him that night. He lost the 90 and took one of their beautiful vases in the high limit lounge and crashed it to the floor. Ooh. Wow. Well, we got kicked out.
Oh, you were with him?
I was with him.
Nice.
When he did that, I didn't wait around. I left. I was like, I'm not going to deal with someone. Yeah. So that was my exposure to the vapid, shallow world of trying to date for money until you realize it's worthless.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have that kind of story. Mine's kind of lame. It was not here. My parents, I had just turned 21. And my parents, we live relatively. My parents lived in Phoenix, so it's relatively close to Laughlin. So Laughlin, and I put $1 coin back in the day when they had those into one machine. It was a red, white, and blue sevens, and won $100.
Oh,
which
nice.
is the worst thing in the world.
Yes.
You know, if I was a degenerate gambler, which I'm not. But yeah, that
just
was my first.
Degenerate, right?
Yeah, right. It's just right. But no, that was my first experience. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
And then I can't say I threw maybe a couple more quarters the rest of the time. It's not my thing. Every nickel,
No.
I need every dime I make. And
me too.
Now, what game do you like? What game have you liked in the past?
I actually just gambled last weekend.
Oh my!
My husband and I were out to
driving
dinner.
In Las Vegas. Yeah.
we were just walking by and we decided to play Megabucks. So we dropped $40 into Megabucks and lost it all.
Yeah.
Highest percentage of Megabucks winners invested less than $20.
Oh wow!
Yep, for sure.
Whenever we see one, we try to play it. So
yeah,
it's just fun.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have a game. I'm not good at any of those games, so.
You know, I've said it before. Roulette is the worst game in the world, and now there's this big controversy. There's the MGM is introducing 000 roulette,
Ooh.
which is you might as well give the money. Just come to the table,
that's right.
hand him the money, and you're done.
Double zero's bad. No.
Yeah, exactly. But roulette is actually quite fun. But I think there's nothing like a good craps roll.
Yeah.
Especially if you get a cute girl, no matter what kind of cute it is, just cute and fun and everything else, and she's just throwing and doesn't give a shit, and for some reason it's hitting, and everybody just dives on there and they're just having fun. Yeah. That's actually fun.
Craps is more of a community game like that because everybody is there, and that's the one that if you're in the casino and you hear noise and you hear a lot of cheering going on. It's the craps. It's coming from the craps table.
Yeah, right. Now back to the literary infusion that's Las Vegas. There's another one that John brought up, and this is the most interesting title I think I've ever heard. Candy Colored Tangerine Flake Streamline Baby.
Yes.
By Mr. Tom Wolfe.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and that was in. By the way, Fear and Loathing. Mr. Thompson wrote that in 1972. Or at least it was published in 1972.
Right.
Tom Wolfe wrote the last one, Streamline Baby, in 1965.
Right.
It actually wasn't a novel. It was more of a collection.
Yeah, it's a collection of essays. Now, one of the essays in the book is about Las Vegas.
Yes.
It's got a really long title. As I mentioned in that blog article, Tom Wolfe, he's a great writer. He's a pretentious prick. But it doesn't matter. He's still a good writer, so I give the guy credit for that. And he wrote about Las Vegas. Originally, the article was published in Esquire magazine, I think 1964. So it's interesting to read it today because, as I said, other cities, San Francisco, it may go through, it'll remodel, buildings be torn down and new ones be put up, but it's still San Francisco. The Golden Gate Bridge is still there. It's been there for years and years and years. The Golden Gate Park, it doesn't change. The Las Vegas that Tom Wolfe describes is, for the most part, no longer exists. It's just blown away on the dust because the hotels aren't there. They have new ones in their place, not even like the new Sands. It's gone. Yeah. Right? I mean, he talks about the dunes in that article. It's gone. It's just dust now. And he talked about the one-story casinos. Well, yeah, they're not that size anymore. So.
No.
I mean, again, back to Steve Wynn. He's targeted as the person that changed our town. I don't know that that's the case. I think Las Vegas is going to change regardless, and loyal to nothing. She'll change exactly what she needs, and that's why I may joke about the millennial influence. Oh, by the way, they've asked not to be called millennials.
What do they want to be called?
I have no idea. They don't want to be called anything.
Pains in the ass?
They want to be called the current generation. But the millennial influence will be sloughed off just like everything else. Mm-hmm. Now, I've always said that I miss old Vegas. I don't think it's ever coming back though. Hey everybody, catch up with us next week for part 2 of this episode. Thanks to everyone listening and watching. You can catch the Pod Bay Door on the Podbean app or any of your favorite podcast apps, including iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, and Stitcher Radio. You can watch the show on our YouTube channel at the Pod Bay Door Podcast. Please download, like, and subscribe. Our social connectivity screen is coming up. Check in with us on Facebook, Twitter, and WordPress. The Pod Bay Door is closed and talent is out. Hey everybody, thank you very much for tuning into the show. We would love to hear your show suggestions and comments. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, please click to subscribe. You can also connect with us on Facebook using @PBD Podcast, on Twitter using @TPBD Podcast, and on WordPress at thepodbaydoor.wordpress.com.